There was a village no one spoke about, hidden far from the world, surrounded by hills and silence, where outsiders rarely visited, and even fewer truly understood what happened there. To outsiders, it looked peaceful, very peaceful, calm and ordinary, like any other normal village. Children played freely, smoke rose from cooking fires, and nothing seemed out of place, nothing at all. But Ikaru had a secret. A dark one. Something buried so deep in its traditions that no one dared to question it anymore. Women rushed indoors, locking their doors tightly, covering their windows, holding their daughters close, as if trying to protect them from something they could not escape. Once every year, on a day feared by every woman in the village, the day of silence, everything changed. On that day, no woman was meant to be seen outside. The streets would fall into a strange silence. No footsteps, no voices, just the sound of wind passing through empty paths. The men of the village walked freely that day, not as protectors, not as fathers, but as something else entirely. They called it tradition, something passed down from their ancestors. And so, year after year, the ritual continued. But not everyone in Ikaru was willing to accept it. Not anymore. Amara was different from the others. She did not just see the silence. Se felt it, question it, and refused to let it define her. Why do we hide if we have done nothing wrong? Her mother never answered immediately, because some truths were too heavy to speak out loud. We hide because we want to survive, but survival was not enough for Amara. Not when it meant living in fear. Not when it meant accepting something so deeply wrong. She watched the women of the village closely. The way their laughter faded, the way silence became their only protection. The way their laughter faded with age. The way their eyes carried stories they never told. And in that silence, something inside Amara began to grow. Not fear, but defiance. So, on the night before the ritual, when the entire village prepared to disappear into hiding once again, Amara walked into the center of Ikaru, alone, and lit a fire that refused to be ignored. Women watched in shock, men in anger, elders in disbelief. They mocked her, dismissed her, because fear had ruled for too long, and courage felt unfamiliar. But Amara did not argue. She simply stood there, unbothered. When the morning finally came, Ikaru would witness something it had never seen before. Not silence, not fear, but resistance. For the first time, they refused to hide. The moment the doors opened was the moment everything began to change. Men approaching, confused and angry. The men coming, expecting fear, but became very surprised as to why the women of Ikaru were outside on the day of the ritual. They found the women of Ikaru standing united, holding hands. They found them stronger than they remember them to be. Finally, the sky answered the cry of the women of Ikaru. The sky darkened rapidly, clouds gathering from nowhere, swallowing the sun, turning day into something colder, something uneasy. A low rumble followed, deep, powerful, not from the sky, but from beneath their feet. The ground trembled. Cracks began to form. Thin at fierce, then spreading, stretching across the earth like something beneath was trying to break free. Panic set in. The men stepped back, their laughter gone, replaced with fear they could no longer hide. The earth let out a deafening sound, as if it had been silent for too long. and was finally ready to speak. And in that moment, everyone realized this was no longer a tradition. It was judgment. The earth, at the center of the village, began to tear open. Not slowly, but suddenly and forcefully, as if something beneath had finally broken free. The crack widened. A powerful force surged upward, wind roaring out from within, pulling at everything around it. And for a brief moment, everything stood still, as if the village itself had been cut between two worlds, above and whatever lay beneath. When the chaos finally faded, the noise slowly disappeared. The wind soft, the ground grew still, and a strange silence settled over Rikuru, where the center of the village once stood, where the ritual took place. There was nothing. Slowly, the survivors began to move, not with urgency, not with purpose, but with hesitation, like they were afraid the ground might break again beneath them. Their faces had changed. The confidence, the certainty, the pride they once carried was gone. They looked around of what was remaining, and for the first time, Nome spoke about tradition. Days passed, and for the first time in generations, the women of Akuru stepped outside without fear. No rushing, no hiding, no looking over their shoulders. And then something rare happened. They smiled. Not the forced smiles of survival, not the quiet ones hidden behind fear, but real smiles, free and alive. They were not hiding from their own home. They were finally free. Amara stood quietly, watching the same village that once moved in fear, now breathed freely around her. She had not fought with weapons, but with something far more powerful. Courage. This is a reminder that even the longest silence can be broken. Te in.